What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. I've been trying to do something the entire time. Apologies. Welcome to the breakdown, episode 686, sponsored by Midnight. Charles and the entire team at Midnight. Did you see? Somebody came out with this like really cool poster of Charles. I gotta show this during the show. Also, shout out to Polymarket, the official prediction market sponsor of the DG brand. Also the breakdown. Cake Wallet. Shout out to Cake Wallet Vic. I gotta bring Vic on next week to go ahead and talk up Cake Wallet and Cake Pay and talk about how they've really gone in to build this product out. So shout out to Cake Wallet for sponsoring. And also, just this week, man, we're gonna shout out, not just this week, but for this week, I want to introduce you guys to People's Reserve. That's right, CJ and the team are working on something really cool for people that hold Bitcoin. And it's not just Bitcoin. Well, I mean, I've already broke that down on Monday. We got Landy in the back. I've been trying to turn off my heater. Okay, the entire time I've been trying to. That is the goddamn truth. I've been trying to turn off my heater. It was on full blast, 70. I'm in my suit. I'm dying. Okay, I'm dying. Okay, crazy. And it wouldn't turn off. It would not turn off. It wouldn't turn. Anyway, let's bring in Landy so when we get started with the program. I can't even get TikTok comments up right now. What is going on? I'm trying to bring in Landy. It's not even working. I'm about to go home. I'm about to go home for the day. Landy, good morning to you. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, David? I'm
Yeah,
doing
man.
well. I'm just watching markets. I'm watching and tracking something that I put out there a while back at the
There we
beginning
go.
of the conflict in Iran. I said, I stated on X that the United States is the world's largest oil producer now, and we are a net energy exporter, and that the conflict will cause a network effect, but not a direct effect on oil as it stands here domestically in the United States. And we are seeing that fracture occur. I'm sure you've seen it on the timeline, all the different charts. And this is what happens when you have a president that is forward looking and planning and trying to secure energy here in the United States to not be dependent on other nations. And you're seeing that what this conflict has caused is the exposure of a single point of failure within the energy infrastructure for, well, a lot of the world. And it's not having the same type of impact here. It is having a network effect impact because of insurance and time delays and market pricing. But this is very, very disruptive, and watching it occur around the world and watching other nations get hit in other regions a lot harder than the United States is something interesting to watch play out, because there was some people that definitely did not agree with me, and well, the charts do. So there's that. Not it, I'm gonna reach around. Hold on. Let me break my arm real quick and pat myself on the back here. Oh,
Oh
there
my
we
God.
go.
Well,
Nice.
now they're talking about seizing the island, right?
Karg Island?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, Trump talked about this 25 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't know how realistic it is that you mean US forces seize the island? Is that
Well,
speculation or was that stated?
that's been put out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Um,
speculation. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of A to B to see where that's going with the military infrastructure being taken out on Karg Island, with a MEU headed over there to secure um, you know, to secure operations in the area. Amphibious units, uh, like the Marine Mews that are headed over, and which are taking their good old time headed over, man.
Yeah.
Used What's interesting is, is it John Conrad? Put out a really, really lengthy article with some, or a article, post, a series of posts, a thread, on X that really is kind of, he's a subject matter expert in the field, and, especially when it comes to shipping, and he sees and is expressing what I was speculating on at the beginning. Whether I, fully agree with everything that was there or not doesn't really matter. The overarching theme of the impact and the United States kind of slow walking their way through, especially on the insurance side. I mentioned even here pretty early on that that is the most significant portion um, is the insurance contracts, that secure the risk insurance, for that region out of, Lloyd's and other nations that also secure ships there, and the type of insurance the United States is offering, that is not offering the P&I. So, that's they're using that as a bludgeon right now, and you can see that there's some political maneuvering going on. We have the Prime Minister of Japan here in the United States meeting with Trump today. Obviously, it's a little urgent considering that, this raises costs for them a lot when it comes to oil. So, South Korea, China getting hit, and everybody's like, "Well, China's just gonna get it from Russia." If you think this isn't hurting China, then you're silly, okay? "Oh, well, Iran said that they can get some ships through." Okay, yeah, but it still slows things down in that area, especially when you need, through that strait, you need, space, to not be identified as a possible threat to the US Navy. And it's also proof positive that many of the navies, it's not necessarily that, other nations cannot go and help secure the strait. It's more of it they can, but when you split assets up and you're looking at like a risk, a risk tolerance for your military, many of them are being exposed for having really, really small, navies, and it's those assets become more and more important the smaller your navy is, and deploying them to that region to secure it takes away security from other regions. So it's definitely turning into a negotiation chip. The strait is for the United States here. So I think that, I had mentioned to you the other day when you said to me, like, how long do you think this lasts? And I said, 4 to 6 weeks, something like that, right? At least through to May. Man, I could see if they don't if the administration doesn't get the, although we're starting to see movement today, maybe through the latter half of this week, um, when negotiating with, our allies to actually, basically handle their shit, um, that if they don't move to actually take care of things, and all of this was telegraphed in Davos, by the way. It's not like any of this is like actually new. Um, and I have the feeling that things could last a little bit longer, and we likely see that the tensions remain high, even if, strikes start to slow down on both sides. The tensions remain high for political reasons in order to force, a change in policy. That's kind of the way it's shaping up, and whether you like that or not, don't really care, um, because it's the truth. It's the reality of what's happening in the world right now. And anyone that thinks that United States isn't holding the majority of the chips in this regard, well, you're being proven wrong in real time.
What do you think about we'll get into markets, and welcome to everybody joining the show. The breakdown runs from 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We get Landy that comes on at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to break down the markets, and also we get into some political topics here. Also, I just want to note, I want to thank all the people that were scheduled to come on this week and last week for rescheduling. March has been weird. I don't know. People are busy, um, but we will have a lot of people, I guess, come on to the show at the back end of March and the beginning of April. So for those asking, hey, notable names, we'll have people on. No worries there. I want to talk about Tucker Carlson interviewing Joe Kent immediately after the man resigns from his position. He's running on to Tucker's show. Kind of weird. After resigning, you run straight to Tucker's show. What were your thoughts on that? Where he claimed that Israel pushed the United States of America into this war.
Forced Trump's hand. You know,
Yeah.
Kent has been very careful, even in his resignation letter, to not blame Trump. He explicitly is blaming Israel, right? He, in fact, has praised Trump all the way through. But I think part of this is a bit of look. I thank him for his service. I think that he is an actual American hero. But
And I said that yesterday.
but
Let's put aside the fact
Yeah.
that he did serve. He lost his wife. His wife served.
yes,
Lost his wife in the war.
yep.
Listen, I respect his service. 100%. We'll never take that away from him.
And not only did he serve, but he served at some of the highest levels of the military in terms of special operations, and then continued that service through as a contractor with the CIA. And not just, intel gathering, part of the paramilitary arm of the CIA. He knows his stuff, right? But he's also very well versed in politics, right? And he became very close before, in his run in 22 and 24. He became close with, the podcast sphere of what you would maybe prior consider the conservative movement, not even necessarily MAGA. A lot of people, I think, misidentify them as MAGA, but conservative movement, when it comes to whether it be Sean Ryan, Owens, Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and a bunch of them. And you notice that they're all the ones that are freaking out about Israel and have been for quite some time. And in some cases, they bait you in with legitimate grievances, but then they spin it into hyperbole. And because there is, there's vested interests all throughout the various talking point spheres. And when you get an audience, you tend to watch metrics really close, especially when you lose your job at Fox News and you're trying to build an audience in your own platform and stuff like that, which Tucker
Yeah.
Carlson was he did very well and very quickly, and then immediately began to shift, because some more controversial topics got him a lot more views and a lot more attention, and started out with legitimate questions and then turned into what I would characterize as illegitimate questions to keep pushing a narrative forward, to keep farming views. Others are going to accuse many of these people of being foreign agents and or taking money from foreigners in order to push certain agendas. I can't speak to that. You can all speculate on that. I'm not here to speculate on that. But what I can say is that when you have an audience that is growing because you're saying certain things, you have an incentive structure that is pushing you in a certain direction, right? Because once that gravy train slows down, then you have to pivot to the next crazy thing. And you can see how people get more and more unhinged as they're doing what? Grifting. And in this case, most all of them, even on the left, right and left, there's grifters everywhere.
Yeah.
And the grift is real. And the interesting thing about Tucker Carlson and Joe is that, months ago, it was speculated online by a lot of people that Joe might be leaking information. There was like somebody said, made the accusation, and then many people were like, there's no way that guy's like a stand-up guy. There's no way that guy's leaking information. Um, but they were drawing the correlation of things that people like Tucker were saying, and others in that sphere of influence were saying, as like realistically, there's only like a few people that are going to get you that information, and then you start to trace through relationships, and his name kept popping up. And I don't have references right in front of me of some of the groups of people that were making that accusation that he was the leaker. I believe it was around the time of Signalgate last year, and like some of the different controversies that were happening around that. A lot of like folks dug into that and on both sides and made accusations, and people are stupid and so on and so forth. But realistically, when you have security breaches like that, those don't internally, those are not taken lightly, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there was other people that were aware that were also leaking information about the leaker, right? So who knows how that got out there? Don't really care. But it was not really what was interesting to me is the timeline of events. Tucker recently came out and basically accused the CIA of spying on him in relation to Iran. Now, what's interesting about that is I doubt that they were. Who knows? He's getting ahead of something, right? When saying that, and he was talking about FARA violations. Well, what's interesting is if it was a FARA violation and he's aware or has been tipped off that he was under investigation by the CIA that was going to make some sort of a criminal referral for FARA violations, who told him that?
Yeah.
Right. And then we also, then there shortly after,
That's a
all
good
of a
point.
sudden,
That's a good point. That's a
all,
good
all,
point.
of- all of a sudden, which by the way, I don't know if that's legit or not. He could be blowing smoke up everybody's butts. I have no idea. But what I can tell you is we know that Tucker himself has been to Iran. He's had communication of his own admission with Iranian leadership, which he quotes as now the people of Iran, but that's not what his prior quotes were and discussions were. He's been to the White House lobbying the president prior to the action on Iran to not do so. And then, you can see how there's some connection there. Something's not right with Tucker. And whether it's legitimate and he's being set up, or whether, he did something wrong, really is something that people can only speculate about. But it is interesting that he says this, and then very shortly after, Kent has what I would characterize as a very large change in position on the security risks that Iran poses, okay, and has posed. Because for a very long time, and there's countless posts that people are bringing up about Kent and his views of Iran and his acknowledgement that they were behind the terrorist attacks, whether it be October 7th. He was very supportive of Israel and the strikes in Palestine, but urged what? To take care of the problem. And we know who the problem is. It's Iran. He
Yeah.
talked about the strikes, the original strikes that he was for, the decisive action that was taken to take out the nuclear sites, which, by the way, everybody's like, oh, well, they said they destroyed them. They must not have been destroyed. So they lied about that. They're probably lying about everything else. No, they literally said that they were rebuilding the infrastructure and were going to enrich more. That was the whole point. Whether they were bluffing or not, you're really going to if you're going to take their word for it, like most people online like to take the IRGC's word for everything that they say, apparently. They literally opened negotiations by saying, no, we're not going to give up enrichment. That's how they opened negotiations in this round. And last year, 2 months of negotiations went nowhere and got stalled because, look, you can't just give them everything they want. And the more you concede, and Iran has been lying about what they've been doing for 40 some odd years. All right. And
Bro, is that like a shock?
No. And it's funny because I think people here in the West, especially in the United States, a lot of people have been disillusioned by our own government because our government has lied to us continuously. So when we hear that the opposite opinion about negotiations and about what they had or what they didn't have, we also live in a vacuum most of the time from issue to issue where we don't go and look at history.
Yeah.
And Iran, the regime in Iran has continuously lied, not only to the United States but to their neighbors. I mean, people forget that they were striking bases that killed Americans prior to this. Under Biden's administration, under Trump's first administration, they struck they struck Saudi Arabia well before any of the conflict that is currently going on was happening. Right, like this is not a nation that is like to be taken at their word. So obviously Trump even gave them a 10-day count, right? He's like, if we don't come to a conclusion at 10 days, we're going to hit you hard. And 10 days came up, and guess what? We hit him. And so did Israel. Now, when it comes to somebody like Joe, he goes and he runs to Tucker Carlson because I think he's getting ahead of something. I think his resignation was him trying to get ahead of something because now it's been revealed that he's under investigation for leaking intel, classified intelligence. Well, this investigation also predates any of the action in Iran. We're also learning now that he was cut out of a lot of the intelligence meetings. So clearly, he's getting out ahead of something. And look, I don't know what that is. That's DC politics, by the way. Um, I think that the guy is a hero. I think that he's wrong on this issue, and if he was, um, he's also clearly rolling back everything that he has said prior in his support of Israel, in his identification of Iran as a threat. He's trying to position this as, well, not imminent like right now. Okay, well, what is define imminent then? You're gonna let them build more ballistic missiles so that they can continue to shield themselves and eventually make it such a large program that they can protect the enrichment, right? They bragged about being at 60%, and it takes weeks to go from 60% to 90 weapons grade. Like this is not and then they opened up negotiations, and this is that people think it's a conspiracy theory because they don't want to go and look. They would rather go and actually just take like some biased news source's word for it or some X profiles instead of actually digging into they started negotiations by saying that are they are going to continue this program, and their ambitions were to get something like what, 10 nuclear weapons. And this is interesting because now when you have somebody like Kent coming out and running to Tucker right after the fact, and granted they're friendly, right? And Tucker, what happened with him prior, this just seems like trying to get ahead of a story that's going to break. And now we're finding out about the meetings, that he wasn't in classified briefings. We're finding out that there was already an active investigation going on for leaking classified intelligence that predates any of this Iran stuff. So this is, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know why he would do something like that. I don't know what the goals are. And I also don't know what kind of intelligence he did see. Did he see something that has completely convinced him when he was getting briefings that somehow Israel was going to, take all measures to influence the US into acting on their timetable versus the US's timetable? That was also, remember, when this broke, people were making a big deal of an offhand remark that Trump made of saying that Israel forced his hand. So is there something to that? I don't know. I can tell you right now that strategically, the US military has been planning for this type of an operation against Iran for a very, very long time, and Trump is the one that pulled the trigger. I can tell you that that this has clearly been very well planned and very well executed in terms of taking out the various levels of leadership, military infrastructure, supply chain infrastructure. And now they're just picking targets through all of the different bunkers. They're continuing to, they sunk their whole damn navy basically. I think all they have, they sunk any of their warship navy really early on, but now it's just playing cleanup with all their little fast attack boats and stuff like that. That they had their whole swarm theory that everybody was floating out there is going to be a huge problem, and the United States isn't prepared for war. Are you kidding me? Look, the only reason that they're even having any type of smaller successes in hitting their neighboring nations is because a lot of this stuff is being back channeled through China, right? Whether it's logistics
And Russia.
support. Russia's barely doing anything. I think
Yeah,
that
but
I
Russia's
think it's more
helping
China.
Iran, man. Russia is
I think
definitely
that
helping Iran.
I'm sure that they're helping them with some intelligence stuff, but I guarantee you that China's continuing to send over what they can in
Oh,
terms
100%.
of infrastructure now that their infrastructure is getting hit, because they're going to try to prolong it, right? They want the US to declare some sort of victory and have it be over and still have a stake in the regime that's there, which is why I think that Trump could come out today and be like, you know what? We're done. All we got to do is security operations. Now we basically flattened all of their infrastructure. They're down to firing 1 to 2 ballistic missiles a day. They have, unfortunately, some of these are cluster munitions that they're firing, but they're the drones being launched down. What I think CENTCOM came out said it's down 95% in terms of drone launches. 95% to like 99% or something along those lines for ballistic missiles. And then they're taking out the actual manufacturing facilities, underground bunkers. They're, bombing in the entrances and exits of those places, which it takes time to excavate that stuff, and then dropping, bunker buster bombs or penetrator bombs. I think the last munitions that they dropped on some of the hardened bunker sites were the was it the 57? No, they were doing the 5,000-pound ones. So it's just I find it very interesting that we have a lot of influences here at home. I'm sure that we're probably going to see some further departures from the administration over this. I wonder how many are going to come out and blame Israel. And what many people are doing right now in terms of the putting the onus on Israel are specifically citing Trump's comment that he made, kind of offhand remark when he said, yeah, kind of Israel forced our hand, but we're the ones in control. Meaning that they wanted to strike because they found the opportunity when they were all going to be together, is what he was referencing. And that's the part that people cut out, is that Israel had intel that the Ayatollah and his entire team were going to be meeting, and they shared that with U.S. intelligence, and U.S. intelligence and the military, obviously one big blob that can communicate together. And, we can create a path in through all of their Chinese radars and Russian radars, and clear the way for strikes against that particular compound, and go for a regime decapitation of top leadership. And then what have they been doing since? Taking out methodically each and every top leader that they can. And these are not, people think they're like, no, they'll just reform and it's just a new person will rise. I don't think people understand how important some of these leaders were in some of these different factions of this decentralized military infrastructure and the IRGC. Like when you look at some of these, because of the way that it was built, when you start taking these leaders out, you can't just simply replace them and their knowledge and their experience. So, and that's why you're seeing videos out of Iran of people playing drone sounds and watching the people watching them run away and stuff like that. Look, this is not war is not pretty. It's not fun. I don't particularly even enjoy talking about it, but one thing that I will tout is that the US is a very powerful military force. And when you see it in action and you see how quickly things have gotten done through the various operations with the US military, whether it be Venezuela or now Iran or in prior strikes, and very highly targeted strikes with taking out high profile individuals. I think people forget. We went into Venezuela and snatched Maduro out of his compound, and by the morning he was already here in the United States, right? And I think if you're gonna A to B to C where things are going, who was in Venezuela, who was dealing with Venezuela, who was part of the shadow fleets, who actually brings in a whole bunch of chemical agents to produce drugs, and some of the worst drugs that the cartels in South America survive on, right? There was clearly Venezuela was a main vector for that. And also, Trump said they got that oil.
They got that oil. Welcome to the breakdown, episode 686. All right, last one. I want to get your take on this. And by the way, I'm dying laughing because Trump just said, what? Maybe I should share this. Hold on. This is crazy.
I would like to see what Trump just said.
Oh,
I know he's got a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of
hold on.
Japan.
I gotta play this. This is crazy right now. Hold on.
I have it on one of my screens. It's on mute, so I have no idea what he's talking about.
Oh my God. I'm fucking. All right. I gotta share this. Hold
Well,
on
while
a
you're
second.
figuring that out, my point about Venezuela is, did Israel force our hand in Venezuela too? No.
Yeah.
And it's all related to Iran, Russia, China.
Check this out. Oh my God.
Got audio?
Hold on.
Probably gonna have to roll it back to get the audio.
Oh my God. All right, guys, you can watch this right now. Here's Trump meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister at the White House. This is moments ago.
Too much. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? He's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right? Okay, one more. Too much.
I can't. I honestly, I can't, man. I can't with this guy. This guy is fucking hilarious. You know what? You can hate Trump, but you can't deny he is definitely unique.
When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
Wow. It is episode 686, friend. It is. It's episode 686, and it's sponsored by Midnight, and it's also sponsored by Cake Wallet, Polymarket, and also our newest sponsor, People's Reserve. We're here with Landy. And again, this was really a few minutes ago where Trump, I know it says 12:11 p.m., but Trump, I can't with him. He
I mean,
is
funny. This
right?
this right here
He's
is a little
asking me,
bit out about.
do
Oh my
you believe
God,
in surprise?
disrespectful.
I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out.
Trump. No, I don't think there'll be another one like him. I don't
I
believe
mean,
there'll be another president like Trump.
at least he framed the surprise as, oh, Japan knows a little bit about surprises and attacking Pearl Harbor. But at least he didn't bring up the surprise, the two big surprises that we dropped on Japan, because that I might have been like, come on, Trump, don't do that. And
Man,
that,
I
that
actually
was that was just sitting right there.
I don't even know how to. Anyway, 60 seconds, Landy. Tell us what's happening here with Bitcoin. Expected?
Yeah. I mean, I talked about it yesterday. Lose 70. If we lose 70, we're going to dip down to test 68 to 69. You need to see 68K hold up in the lower term time frames. We definitely have seen a little bit of a bounce, but because we had a short term time frame spike in oil, we got this this larger move down below supports. And you can see that yesterday I kept pointing out the 70,000 to 70,500 area, top side of the range. Need to see this hold for immediate continuation back up. Still has a chance for a higher low. Now I will say that if we start to break down from, $68 to $69,000 and start getting below and closing below the basis band here, it can swing down below 68, but you don't want to see closes. You want to see it getting bought back up, and preferably bought back up above it around $69 to $70,000 back into this zone here. But if it does continue down and close below 68, we've either already tested into the low side structure, 65.5 to 66K or somewhere in between there, with a likely target being the bottom side of the range being around that $65,000. But we can see that 67.5 is going to become important for swings. But if we do start closing below 68, it does increase the chances that that area, even if it did get picked up at 67.5, probably would start to fall apart. Doesn't mean it necessarily would, but I would start to look towards this higher low structure around 65 to 65.5. That's going to be the area where Bitcoin would break the uptrend here, because we do have uptrending structure at the moment. You're going to get a lot of professional line drawers or astrologists, very manly puppet astrologists, who are going to go like, well, hey, look, there's a trend line here, and if it breaks below the trend line here, then we're going to see this. It doesn't matter. You can draw trend lines to fit whatever you want, and you might find success in drawing trend lines for whatever system you have here. But realistically, the auction respects horizontal levels of support and resistance. And you can see here that this high right around $68,000, which is a lower high, if that's taken out, there's nothing really until the 65.5 area, and then the downside structures here at 65K, which was the first high from 2021, was at 65. Important area. We put in a higher low just above there. If we start testing that area and it starts to break down, that's where we can look at 62.5 and lower, down to 58 to 60. But it's still got a chance. Nice lower term time frame bounce. And the main reason that we are seeing things come back down is we've seen oil the past 2 days have some green days. Now, this is U.S. oil. This in particular, this is kind of the retail side of crude here in the United States with the CFDs on WTI. But this is representative of the oil markets domestically here for us. We did see that move. Yesterday, we saw the move down into the 91.50. That's still going to be the area around 90 to 91.50 that needs to hold up for oil to continue to test the highs. Right now, it's gone into the consolidation. that I have kind of been alluding to that needs to be seen after a big volatile move up and then a higher low. We're looking at a consolidation. If it's going to break to the downside, it's going to do it below $90 a barrel to the mid to low 80s, and then we can watch the 70 to 76, 75 to $76 a barrel area, because anywhere below there is coming right back down to supports 68 to 70 being fair game. If we do see this head up above 102, I'm looking 105, 110, and then back to the highs. But because we've seen that happen with the short-term buyback from yesterday, and then the retest lower in the day today of 95, and then it got bought back up to around $100 a barrel. What we saw at that same time was traditional markets started to puke in the lower term timeframes. Why? Because in those lower term timeframes, we had Dixie get a little bit of a pop in the lower term timeframes. And when that started to pop, it kind of freaked some people out. Obviously, flushed some stuff out when you see oil doing that. And also for traditional markets, they're already plumbing into the major weekly areas that I discussed last week with you. We're now there. We got the pop down into the weekly area to 24K or 24.1 in this case for NASDAQ. We were already in there on Dow. We have now gotten into the weekly area. We hit my 655 target. Yay. And for one of the people said, man, he's really good at calling it. I hope he's a multimillionaire. Yeah, I talked about calling these numbers not too long ago, and it's not hard to do. I'm not some expert in the called it field, but what I can tell you is that markets are pretty easy to read if you know what to look for. But 655 is the area that I was looking for initially for dailies, but it is a wider zone. If we see 655 taken out, then I'm looking 650 to the downside. And realistically, a lot of this is just going to, all you got to do is watch oil right now. It's pretty easy. Oil lower term timeframes coming up. Things in traditional markets headed down, right? It's not anything too crazy. And right now, finding a base of support on 95. I'd mentioned yesterday with you that Bitcoin could very easily, very, very easily head to the downside if we see traditional markets continue to have pressure down and not recover their lows. And that is what we're seeing now. But traditional markets are in a major area of interest on the weeklies. So I would, I'd just exercise some caution. We're likely to going to see some bids come in here. And then the big thing is, and it's going to be the talk now of the town square on X and elsewhere, is that we have this fracturing in the pricing of oil. So we've got, $97 a barrel for the US. UK's sitting at 110 and has already ran its high where US did not, right? So we had the high at 119.50. We've got UK at 119, going up to test at 119.13. And you've got oil here in the US versus UK. Oil in the US did not spike nearly as high, just sitting around the $100 region when Brent was trading up to around the 120 area. And then as you get further out into like Dubai crude, you're at 122. And you're looking at Oman mini futures at 160, so on and so forth. So you're seeing things in the oil market start to fracture. A lot of it has to do with production and supply and demand and logistics and shipping and all that kind of stuff. And insurance. Insurance is a big one. So keep a close eye on oil. Keep a close eye on Dixie. If we see oil in the US continue down, we'll likely see Dixie break down. That would be, if that coincides with a nice bounce in the markets, I think that you could find the confluence there that traditional markets are in a good place to bounce, and maybe Bitcoin can hold up as well in some higher low structure and try for higher. Otherwise, watch 65.
Watch 65. You know what? Let me tell you something. I will take I will take 65. I will take 40. It's a question that I posed out there. I said, do you think we're going to 40? I'll take 40. I'll take 30. I'll take whatever. Why am I on this side? What are you fucking doing?
I'm the host.
You
now.
trying to take
Hey,
over, bro?
damn.
You
Almost
fucking
I
trying to
just need
take over the show?
You know what? I wish that the PFP could have the American flag behind it. I would change the suit, the tux to a suit, and I would totally do it. Yeah. Give my puppet a little beard here. Put me on the left-hand side of the screen. Welcome to the breakdown, everyone. Episode 686. I can't do what you do. Are you kidding me?
You can't? Why?
Why? Because anytime I'd bring on a guest, you'd never hear any of them speak because I'd be too busy taking up all the air in the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, Landy. Okay, Landy. You can go ahead and by the way, yesterday Landy came out with his recap of the market. Okay, you can go ahead and tune in right now. Go on to X, formerly known as Twitter. I hate saying X. You can go ahead and see the entire breakdown. Go follow at CryptoLandy, and you can go ahead and check that out. You can be ahead of the game for free. You can be ahead of the game for free because he's dropping value. And you're not getting this much value out of anybody you're following. All these free ebooks and shit that you've been getting, which aren't even free. Sign up for $9.99. I've seen this shit. Bro, do you know how many people I've watched on social media? They're dropping all these takes. They're dropping 4 tweets. They're showing you different ways the shit's going. And then they delete 3 of them and they keep the one that actually worked out. Bro, listen to me. It's not financial advice at all, but I'm just telling you, man. Tune into Landy at CryptoLandy on Twitter. It should be formerly known as X, because they should go back to Twitter. Okay. Seriously, like, come on. You imagine, hey, check my shit out on X. How does that sound? Like, somebody who's not on social media, you're like, yo, you should check my shit out on X.
They're like, is that the new OnlyFans?
No, they'll be like, what, I need to take drugs in order to what? Like, no.
Anyway. You know, I wanted to oh man, now I lost it. Wait, where is it? I wanted to say something real quick. One of the things that you will find is that in those videos that I do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the Gokhshtein Network, right? I don't talk politics. All right, you're safe there. It's your little technical analysis safe space. You're not going to hear politics from me. And I will primarily be focused on the charts. I will explain some of the reasons why you should be looking at things as it relates to global events, but it's the charts. So for those that are here for the chart knowledge and don't like my political takes, well, one, I don't really care if you don't like them, but if you do find value in the information I'm sharing regarding where markets could potentially be headed, that's all you're going to get in those videos. So
listen, everything that it's only when Landy comes onto this show that I force him into talking about politics, because he knows his shit. Doesn't talk about him. I don't know, Landy, I've never heard you talk politics.
Really?
Yeah,
prior to being on your show?
No, just like on my show, obviously, but like I've never, like, I don't know if you ever got, like, I don't know if I was ever, maybe 1 or 2 spaces, but I don't think I've ever heard you really join political shows and stuff.
No, because most of the political shows that are on Twitter or X you're dealing with a lot of paid operators, right? A lot of paid interests. So there's no real, you're not really arguing with people with the goal of actually figuring out what's going on or coming to some sort of middle ground. It's just a fight. It's a left versus right fight, or a left versus left fight, because for as much as the lefties like to go, oh, look at the fracture in MAGA. Well, go look at CNN's own polling. 100% of MAGA is behind the president. And they they found that it went from 28% of the GOP identifies as MAGA to 30% now, and they're all for what the president's doing. So, um, a lot of it is manufactured BS on social media, because when mainstream media started to die, um, it was as the result of the speed of information being able to get out there very quickly via social media. And then you had traditional reporters really starting to just abandon the network mainstream media for social media. Podcast bros took it over. You could thank Joe Rogan for that, but it was already beginning. And then what you ended up with is the real big push by all of these intelligence agencies around the world, not just here in the United States, but around the world, rushing to social media to try and push the narrative in a certain direction regarding certain subjects. And now what they figured out is we don't even have to we can pay certain high profile individuals under the table, or even low profile, and start to garner an audience for them and build them out. But once it's known that we were connected to them at any point, they're kind of outed to their audience. So instead, what we'll do is we will elevate them via what looks to be organic, views and clicks and all of this different stuff, by flooding, flooding their views, flooding their accounts over time with more and more of an audience that will then garner them an organic audience, right? And then they're now financially incentivized, because of the way that these platforms are set up in terms of payment, to actually continue on the path that they're on. And then the audience that they're garnering by talking about certain things, if they talk about something that, let's say, a certain intelligence agency doesn't like, or a certain state sponsor doesn't like, well, then they start pulling back on the throttle, right? And then they see the views go down, they see their monetization go down, and then they throttle it back up for the things, if they're critical about the things that they like. So you start influencing the influencers. And then you have the way that a lot of operators work as well. All of the intelligence that's leaked is leaked by somebody with access to the intelligence. That doesn't necessarily mean, when people say anonymous sources, especially journalists in the Pentagon or in Washington, D.C., they say anonymous sources. They're getting information leaked through conversations or through people in different administrations or positions of power or knowledge. They don't necessarily know that information is true. For instance, like Joe Kent, if he was leaking and he was already on the outs, he could have been fed information that was bad or misleading in order to identify who it was that he was leaking it to, like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and other people like that. That's pure speculation, but that's what's being floated out there. But that's a known way of, intelligence agencies operating, whether you're looking at CIA, Mossad, or any of the adversary intelligence agencies in the KGB and CCP. So, social media, and many know this, has been really astroturfed over the years. And it's only a matter of time before the people who are doing the astroturfing expose themselves for who is actually behind them. And like Candace Owens flip-flopping from being a communist Democrat to all of a sudden becoming a Republican. If you weren't old enough, or just you had no idea who she was and you just took her at face value, you might have fallen for the grift, right?
I have somebody who actually knows her, that
She was a
told me.
communist Democrat.
No, but they told me full out, because I won't mention the person's name, but they were in the same circle,
Yep.
and he told me for sure that this is all part of her shtick.
Yeah, she's a grifter.
Because
But
I
she's
said
also
she's
incentivized
at
to
one
do
point
so.
she was good, like something before she lost her mind. She was like she was cool,
But
and
she didn't
he goes,
just
"Don't believe
randomly lose
that."
her mind.
No,
She
but
she she held like hardened communist beliefs before grifting off of the narrative America First movement, right? Like that is something. And by the way, like a lot of people who now they're like America First is America only. No, it's not. I mean, literally, Trump ran on power projection and bombing Iran 3 times in a row. By the way, he ran on that. It's the context, and what you see in social media is people who want to take that out of context on the right and the left. And realistically, it's like the people on the left who are um, attacking people who talk about common sense issues that the majority of constituents in the United States are for, like a John Fetterman. Like you can disagree with him on policy. I disagree with him on a lot of policy that he stands for, but
yeah,
he's talking about common sense things, right? And he's maybe a little bit more of a hardened Israel hawk and ally than even I would have expected. But the reality is he's talking in a way that is representative of the majority of constituents in the United States. And the left is freaking out and the right is freaking out. And what you see is the commonality between what I call obviously the woke left, which is fully manufactured, by the way. That's completely bought and paid for. And then you have the fake right, which is fully manufactured, completely bought and paid for.
yeah.
And they don't really hold different ideals at the end of the day. They're kind of one and the same. The fake right and the woke left are kind of the same thing. They kind of all stand for the same shit with a different spin on it. And realistically, at the end of the day, they try to paint the people into a corner that follow them into being hardliners for those positions, no matter what. And realistically, that's just not the way the world works. It's just not. And I know many people hate me for my takes, and I don't really give a shit. You can hate me, you can think I'm stupid, but I make a lot more sense than most of the people that are talking about this kind of stuff. And the reason why I don't go to any of those spaces and interact with any of those people is because many of them, I know how they came up in this game, and they are completely fake and manufactured. They've flip flopped back and forth between their different worldviews and how they view what's happening in the world, and they are completely manufactured and even in some cases been exposed many times over. But we live in an era where people have the brain capacity of a peanut. No shade to a burnt peanut. I actually think he's funny, but no shade to him. But they have the memory capacity of a peanut, and then they just move from one narrative to the next without any context of what's happened prior. So what these people can do is they can remake themselves. Kyle Kalinske is a great example. Hardliner right to immediately left wing lunatic. No, that's called manufacturing, right?
100%.
And then the audience itself incentivizes that, right? And if you're not going to be true to yourself, um, some people just give in and take the money, man. The money's and the lifestyle is appealing enough for them to violate their principles and or justify their switch up. And unfortunately, kind of real quick back to like guys like Joe Kent, who I think are absolute heroes, they can be wrong too, and they are fallible. That's like I like President Trump. I like the policies that he is trying to implement. But that doesn't mean he's infallible. He's done shit that I don't like. He says shit that I'm like, "Oh god, really?" But I think he's absolutely one of the best presidents that we've ever had. And um this extends to something like Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency conversations, where I fully disagree. Yeah, I got you. Um, I fully disagree with where um, the administration went with their crypto policies. I think it was an atrocious way to go with some of the leadership in those positions. I'm actually pretty aligned with Charles Hoskinson in that regard. But reality is, um, we got what we got, and the framework that he put into place via executive order is good to get there, and he is trying to push forward the industry. And unfortunately, that comes with a whole bunch of special interests on all sides that want to try to capture the most for themselves. And it's all about how you manage that and through that process. And I just think that, you know, there's things that Biden did that I hated. I hated his policies, but there's also things that his administration did that I agreed with. And that shocked people. I was no longer a good person in some people's eyes because I supported specific things regarding very, very highly specific actions that were taken, like the tariffs on China. I actually was for that. And many don't even know that Biden was looking for 100% tariff increases on Chinese goods. Oh, wait. When was this, Landy? Oh, that's back when they were doing the CHIPS Act stuff. So you can go look that up. But most people won't go look it up because they want to stay in their little bubbles and pretend that everything that they're hearing from the media and their friends and their favorite social media influencer that's driving a very specific tailored narrative to be anti whatever it is that Trump is. They don't want to acknowledge anything that's ever happened prior because, well, now Trump is in office, so that doesn't matter. Well, we have to deal with the repercussions of some of the bad policies, and there was good policies that were implemented by the prior administrations. So, but yeah, as I round back to I'm going to get off my soapbox here. David will be back in just a moment, but the markets, one of the things that I did want to impart upon the audience here, and kind of like the political environment does actually tie into markets, but markets will tell you what's going to happen well before you hear it in the news. So I think that um, if we do begin to see like this is this honestly looks like one, it's a rollover back to the lows for something like a NASDAQ here. When you're looking at, this is a full on rollover for something like Dow. And of course, SPY, it's a rollover. And it's all about, does this continue to distribute once it finds support? And we're at a major area of support for something like, SPY, NASDAQ, and Dow. Now that we're at that major area of support, it's all about, does it bounce from here or swing below it and then come back up and then get lower highs and continue on to the downside for a much larger correction that is longer term. And I think that's what is going to define that is not just U.S. oil prices, because I think that U.S. oil prices will continue to look much kinder than overseas oil prices, whether it be Europe, Dubai, Oman, and basically the prices that are being paid, for especially Asian countries. And as we see supply chain logistics evolve, that all takes time, and U.S. oil might continue to consolidate at higher levels for longer and or even correct versus some of these other regions. I think it is important to understand that markets are globally linked. So when we're looking at U.S. markets, they're not, these are global markets. There's a lot of foreign investment in U.S. markets and vice versa. So that network effect from the higher prices of oil in those regions, and especially our allies in the West, you're going to see political pressure start to be applied to them via not just the United States administration, but from within, right, amongst themselves, which we're already starting to see, which is why the PM from from Japan is here in the United States today, talking to President Trump. Um, I know part of that is about also what China's doing with Taiwan, but realistically, China's been doing a whole lot of exercising with Taiwan. Um, but in reality, when it comes to markets, keeping an eye on oil now is going to become a little bit more complex. But you can use WTI, and you can use the retail side, or you can use the futures side, which is going to be the CL ticker. Um, Let me go and actually pull this up. And then, as I've mentioned before, so CL1 for the light crude oil futures. Um, I really would keep a close eye on this and Dixie, because this is going to be, we're kind of, we see if now that traditional markets are at main weekly supports, if we continue to see that Dixie comes down, and we're going to need to see oil come down with it, US oil specifically, and we're going to need to see a correction in wider markets, even in some of these other regions that are getting hit really hard as the divergence continues across the asset that is oil. Pay close attention to if Dixie continues to head down from this overhead resistance that it did swing, because that would very highly likely coincide with a nice bounce, which we are seeing on the daily starting to emerge off of the low side structure in lower term timeframes. In those lower term timeframes, turning this into a swing. But if you look at for the Dow Jones, but if you look at the possibility that we get back above, after hitting 24K essentially, get back above this weekly and start to try to claw some of this back and form, a low in this area for indices and equities, I'd be watching for oil to start heading down and Dixie to start pulling back from this overhead resistance back to the downside. And if that does occur for something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I would be more in favor of looking at a possible, this being a nice correction to another higher low that could potentially start to break back to the highs and go test that overhead resistance at 78 to 80. I think we will have to be patient and just watch the wider markets and kind of how liquidity is moving for traditional markets, especially seeing if Bitcoin actually can maybe bounce with them coming off of some major areas. But I would be aware of any kind of shocks to the market. For instance, you will see shocks to the markets occur on those charts in futures. And now, because we have oils, that is bifurcating in terms of it's kind of trifurcating, where we're seeing this fracture in pricing, we have more things to be aware of. So we can watch, if you're trading these things, I would start to watch some of the overnight markets or have alerts on, so that, if you get up here in the United States, you at least understand what happened overnight, and then go and watch the chart, see where it's at in relation, because that network effect that I alluded to many weeks, 2 weeks ago, I'm going to talk about. I'm not trying to gloat, but this is something that if you understand the market, this is something that I got beat up over online, was putting this out. And because I said, basically, beware of overhead resistance. Although this is going to have a systemic network effect, it's not, I went on to explain why oil in the United States is important, and kind of my theory behind what we're seeing now currently playing out. I actually can't pull that tweet up because now X just doesn't seem to want to load. But, I think that we're in a spot where it's going to pay dividends to actually pay attention to what's happening to oil markets overseas as well as domestically, as it relates to the dollar and our traditional markets, to get a good gauge on cryptocurrencies and where things might head. Also, just watch 65. We can just go right back to that because I saw David appear on the screen here. Above 65, things are looking all right. You're muted though.
Why am I back on this side?
Because
Thank
I
you.
I told you I had to had to take over for a little bit.
You know what? You take over every show that you go on to.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I definitely appreciate everybody. Give a round of applause to Landy. Give a round of applause to Landy. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune into Landy's market recap, recapping everything in the markets, breaking down everything in the markets, crypto, traditional, everything that you want to go and tune into because it'll have you one step ahead of the game. Bam. Bam. Hold on. What?
Oh,
Me and,
to the stuff further up.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. That's up to you. I did not know anything about that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you for having
And,
me, sir.
And tomorrow, right? 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. Man, the week is moving fast.
Tomorrow's Friday, the 20th, March 20th. Holy shit. 3 months almost done. Quarter one is about to come to an end. I said quarter one, we will see phenomenal things happen in crypto. I still have a few days left. I still have a few days. Hey.
I mean, the SEC coming out and providing some guidance, right? Like that's.
But I said there
win.
would be a bullish quarter, man. That we would start going upwards.
It's bullish news. Bitcoin kind of, I mean, it went down a lot.
This would be my first L. This would be one of my first L's of all time.
Yeah. I look. I'm
starting to sense where it's going to. So it's not just you putting it on the screen; it's just me, just like looking at everything. I didn't know that I didn't know we were going to go to war with Iran or operations in Iran, whatnot. No.
Well, let me just be very clear about something. Bitcoin didn't know that we were going to war with Iran when it hit $60,000. So. Maybe somebody knew. Maybe Iran knew. Remember the whole Bitcoin mining stuff? Yeah. Maybe it was Iran dumped you know what? Iran dumped Bitcoin to $60,000.
What I'm trying to say is basically when news hits, right? When news comes out. By the way, and we'll get into, I guess tomorrow we could talk about what the Fed said and all that shit. So
yeah, I mean, the reason that I didn't even bring it up is because everything that they talked about was kind of already expected. Like nothing that they said was a surprise.
And now apparently the new Fed chair that Trump has, I guess, nominated, apparently they're trying to push Epstein files on him or some shit. So
wait, really? I hadn't even heard that one yet.
Yeah. Landy, come on, man.
Wow. I guess I'm
out here. This is my fucking livelihood.
You know what? I was unaware that the new potential Fed chair was going to be attacked by people in the Epstein files for being in the Epstein files. Like who wasn't in those Epstein files?
You know what? I said this already. I said this yesterday. I want to see people get arrested.
Somehow,
like any monsters that were participating within this, this P ring, right? And with Epstein and this little, not this little, but this fucking operation that he was that he had fucking built out here. Whether a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. Like if anybody participated, I'd love to see them get arrested. I don't want to know who the victims are. Because the victims should, unless the victims want to come out themselves, I don't want to know who the victims are.
I see. I have a really.
I just want.
People hate me for this take, but let me.
Hold on.
The victims that are out there, though, those same victims also were perpetrators. And now they're claiming to be victims, which is wild to me. How many others are going to do that? Oh, I was victimized because I was just trying to do financial transactions behind the
Yeah.
scenes, and I'm actually a victim too. And it's like, what is everybody going to be a victim? We don't actually know who the real victims are.
Well, I don't want to know because like if the victims that did suffer,
Yeah,
okay,
which there is.
there are, and we can acknowledge that. I
Mhm.
don't want to know who they are. I don't. They should have their privacy. That is unless they want to come out and themselves say something. I don't think we should be publishing their names. So
No.
let's put that to the side. The DOJ, the FBI, whoever else, people. By the way, I just want to say this also. Let me break this down. You guys talk about Trump and the Epstein files. You talk about them. You talk about Trump, Epstein files, release the files. Trump ordered for the files to be released.
In full.
No president has done that. He did it. Biden had 4 years to do it. He didn't do it. Biden's administration had 4 years to do it. They didn't do it. If Trump, being that you guys love being on the subject of Trump's not releasing the files because he's in them. If the Biden administration had anything on Trump, they would have released the files. I promise you. Being that they had nothing on Trump, I really do believe that a lot of friends of the administration were in these files or are in these files. They didn't want to be the ones that pushed it out there. They left this for Trump. I believe Trump put himself in this position though, because when they asked him about the Epstein files, Trump on the campaign trail said, "I'll release them," right? So I believe, Trump did in some sense set himself up here to be the one who, but he played into, I really believe he played into the Democrats' game. He put himself out there to release the files. So now he has to release them. The way they went about releasing the files has been a clusterfuck. I'm a proud Republican. I'm a MAGA guy. I believe I'm a MAGA guy. But at the end of the day, you got to call it for what it is. The release of the files were horrific. The whole binder thing, the influencer thing, it was bad. The optics on that, when I seen that was bad.
But have you noticed hindsight?
But especially that they released files that were already out there. It wasn't like they released it. And then I actually like Bondi. I like her. I actually don't have anything bad to say about her.
I got plenty of bad things to say about her.
I get it. But you know what? I think where she dropped the ball.
I think she's undermining the will of the president.
Well, here's
forcing him into a rock and a hard place by selectively releasing things when he demanded that Congress put something together.
Let me play devil's advocate on this.
Yeah.
Let me just and you can have your take here. But here's my thing, Landy. She went on TV. She said we got the whole book, the list, and all this shit, right? She misspoke because obviously they didn't have all the stuff. They found out that the FBI in New York City, they had a lot of stuff that wasn't presented.
SDNY, Southern District of New York.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So a lot of these things weren't. She didn't have all the files on the table. People were hiding shit. This shit's crazy. Okay. Again, sloppy stuff. 100%. Here's my thing. Here's my thing now. They have everything. I'm sure like the FBI, the DOJ, they have everything in front of them. People are asking for people to be arrested, right? I don't want people to be arrested just to be arrested, just to so people you put it out there. Well, we arrested Bill Clinton, hypothetically speaking, right? We arrested Bill Clinton. Based on what though? You arrested Bill Clinton because the people in the United States of America wanted justice. So you just no. I'm hoping this is what's happening behind the scenes. I'm hoping that they're looking at individuals that were a part of this ring. They're doing the due diligence. They're really looking at everything. And then whether it's tomorrow or a month or 2 months time, they come out and they say, look, we've made 3 or 4 arrests. This person XYZ was involved in or participated and flew out to Epstein Island and did absolutely demonic things. So that's what I would like to see. Not this whole let's rush this shit out. By the way, I want to say this again. Trump ordered to release the files. All of them. Every single one of them. He signed off on it. You can't say that Trump's hiding anything. He signed off on getting the Epstein files out there to the American people. So hearing these fucking people that continue to go out there and say he's hiding something, what more do you want him to do? Because at this point, it is now up to Congress and it's in the hands of departments, no longer in his hands. He signed off on it. What more do you want? How many times can you bring it up? Now you need to call your representatives, you need to call your senators, and you need to push them. That's it. That's my talking point.
Yeah.
You can't ride Trump anymore.
I agree with you in that regard. The big thing with this entire situation surrounding Epstein is that for 4 years under the Biden administration, not a single person brought up the Epstein files except people in the podcast sphere, in the web news sphere. No one cared in the government. No, Democrats, Republicans, they all dropped it. And they only cared when he started to talk about it. And in fact, they downplayed it when he was on the campaign trail, and even gave their reasons why. And here's one of the things that I found fascinating from a Democrat commentator, even at the time, because I think that that's partly true, is that, okay, you release the files. The statute of limitations for certain sex-related crimes has passed. How do you prosecute these people? Now you also have to not only take what's in those files, you have to corroborate that evidence to actually get a conviction. How are you going to do that when this entire operation and the scope of it, even as it stands right now, is completely unknown? Like, what do you get out of the other side of that? Is you get a whole bunch of resignations and departures. Maybe you get a couple of high-profile arrests of various people for other related things, but not because of the actual sex-related crimes, which is what the public is outraged about. We're used to financial crimes. We're used to all of the other crap. But look at, like, Larry Summers is stepping down. He's stepping down from some of his other roles that he's had. You've got Larson, Dubin, they've resigned. You've got obviously Prince Andrew has been arrested. Jess Staley's been arrested. Former CEO of Barclays. You've got Leon Black has been charged. You've got, there are things happen. You've got like 60 resignations and departures. You've got everything from you got charities that are being shut down. I'm going through a list right now, but the three Mandelsons, another one out of the UK, who, by the way, was the representative here in the United States from the UK. He was the ambassador to the United States, and he was pulled from that and then arrested, right, as recently as a couple months ago, right? So this is a situation where the wheels of justice move very slowly, and unless you can build an airtight case against them, you can go and arrest them, and then you do damage to yourselves by not being able to prove why you've arrested them. You can't just arrest them and start charging them without actual evidence, right?
Yeah.
You need, then you also have to think about all of the various justice wheels that have to turn in order to even make an arrest. Now you've got to deal with the judges. You have to make the case that you've got to go and arrest them. And you've got to, the prosecutors got to have a case ready to go. You can't just willy nilly arrest people because they're in the files. And the other thing about the files is so far, the main criticism right now is Trump is protecting powerful people. And or, for the people that claim that he's in them and did any wrongdoing, there's nothing in the files that show any wrongdoing. There's a lot of accusations and tips that came in that if you read the tips and the follow-up investigations on those tips, they're unsubstantiated tips that came in as recently as 2025 after he became the president again. Like that was being peddled out there as evidence of guilt. And quite honestly, no matter who it is and how much I hate their guts, looking at Bill Gates, sorry, Bill, but I hate you for many different reasons, including the fact that my operating system on one of my computers completely crashed with the newest Windows update. I will blame you regardless of whether or not you were involved.
Jesus Christ.
But reality is that how do you make any of this stick? Right? How do you actually get justice through the system that we have here without having military tribunals? Because I think that's the only way forward. Because military tribunals are the only way to actually get things done. Because if you're running them through the Department of Justice system, they're going to find every which way to weasel out. And look, there's legitimate criticism for why haven't the entirety of the files been released. So, Trump signed what Congress passed, and that was for a full release. Congress has seen these things. Who's holding things up? Is it Trump or is it Bondi? And if Bondi's holding things up, why is she holding things up? Guarantee you that all of the Congress members are involved and have seen the unredacted files in the background and whatever hasn't been released. Guarantee you they know why. And if you're going to put files out there while trying to get certain individuals charged, you can actually nuke your whole case, right? By giving them advanced notice and giving defense, their potential defense attorneys advanced notice of what information you have. Now, granted, before even bringing something up so that they can get out in the public eye, they can start lobbying against it and start trying to twist the narrative. It's a really big mess. And I think that, and I've maintained this, I think that any important information that could potentially lead to convictions of any high profile people as it relates specifically to sexual related crimes. I think that I would venture to bet that that evidence has been long gone and destroyed. These are some of the most powerful people on the planet. They spent 4 years under the Biden administration with those files hanging out in the Southern District of New York. And to your point, if they had anything on Trump, why would they try to get him on real estate stuff through his company?
This is the point that I try to hit. Forget about being a Democrat or a Republican. Okay? Forget about the fucking party affiliations. If the Democrats are trying to win, if Biden is trying to win re-election, right? The Democrats want control of obviously of the White House, the Senate, obviously the House. If they have any sort of information that states that Trump was a part of this shit that Epstein built, you think they wouldn't have came out with this? You think the Democrat, which the FBI, the CIA, all these agencies would be, the DOJ, they were being run by Democrats. You think they wouldn't have come out with this information stating, hey, we just found Trump was involved heavily in this P ring. And he did touch minors. You think they wouldn't have came out with that? Because
Not
I'm
only
telling you
that-
right now, if it were true, hypothetically speaking, because we know it's not, if that was the case and that was presented to the general public, Trump is not the 47th president of the United States of America. I'm telling you, I'm not even voting for him.
Yep. Same.
I'm telling, if it were factual, video, pictures on paper, acknowledge that he was a part of anything, there is no MAGA.
Yep.
And there is no Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. So that's why, like, when no. The Democrats were they were gung-ho on trying to eliminate Trump, okay? Don't tell me that they weren't. They weaponized the legal system against Trump. Don't you dare sit there, I don't give a fuck what party affiliation you got. Don't you dare sit there and say that they did not weaponize the legal system against him when you had bankers come in and say they had absolutely no problem with Donald Trump and that he repaid everything with interest. You're not going to sit here and tell me that they didn't weaponize the system against him. So if they had anything, they would have put it out there. The machine would have made sure. They would have made sure you knew about it. That's what pisses me off. Is that you can't be this dumb. Even if you're a Democrat or a radical lefty, you can't be this dumb. You just can't. You look stupid when you say it. Why would they go after, you just said it, why would they go after, and that was some bullshit.
Yep.
You had the judge that was against it. You had everybody against them. They did shit in that trial that has never been done before. You're telling me they would have took this pathetic case, which really had nothing. This shit had no legs at all. You're telling me they would have picked this over Epstein? You're crazy. You know what they did? I said it as soon as this happened. I said this. Go look at my fucking podcast. Trump was nowhere near winning. And nor was he the favorite to go ahead and be selected to run for the Republican Party. As soon as they did this, so many people in the country rallied behind Trump because there's a lot of people that have had the fucking legal system weaponized against them the way they did to Trump. I think it was the dumbest move. I said it that day. It was the dumbest move by the Democratic Party. The dumbest move that they ever made, because Trump, if they didn't do that shit, I don't even think Trump wins. I don't even think Trump gets reelected as the 47th president of the United States of America.
Important thing to note, too, is this entire time, especially after 2020, remember that the entire narrative was Trump is basically an authoritarian dictator equal to that of Hitler, and
Which
that
is
he is an
disrespectful.
existential threat to the citizens of the United States. That was the narrative. And if you would think that if any of that were true and he was in these files that they have access to, which the Southern District of New York was already in trying to manufacture cases against him through various vectors. And this is after Georgia, and while Georgia was going on in some cases as well. You would think that they would have weaponized that against him and strategically released that information and made it public if they had any. And the fact that they didn't is very telling, because there was no one for him to protect at that point, right? It wasn't like there was people in his administration or in his sphere that was worth protecting. He was literally fighting against the system himself, right? So it's just the cognitive dissonance is is really just the hyperpolarization that I think is the system recoiling at the fact that Trump can get in there and actually rearrange the world economy and the way that the world does business, the way that the American people are prospering. And they completely broke a system. They've broken this system in favor of the elite and the political elite, right? So the ultra wealthy and the political elite. And he is a threat to that because even if you don't believe that he is going to help the American people, even throwing a bone to the American people is a danger to them, right? Because the other accusation is, oh, well, he's also one of the political elite and it's all about back, scratching people's back and grease people's palms. Well, in reality, this year, I got way more back in taxes than ever before. I've got family members who are in very different situations in terms of tax bracket that you would consider here in the United States to be poor, that are getting extra money back for their children. They're getting they have additional write-offs. There's all kinds of things that are, very helpful to them in the economic sense. And then from the cultural sense, abolishing some of these systems that were put in place that was really driving society in the wrong direction. There's a lot of things domestically that we needed to ensure for our security, such as energy, right? And pushing energy forward and pushing the nuclear forward, especially, which is another big initiative of the administration. His policies are sound, and they're not just sound for people on the right. They're sound for people on the left too, because many of the same policies that he still is trying to implement and has implemented thus far under executive order because Congress is worthless, are old Democrat policies. They literally are Democrat policies that were championed by some of people's, especially on the left, some of their favorite Democrats. And realistically, what we get is the system just coalescing to protect itself from Trump. And literally anything that he does, they have to be against it, whether it's something that they used to be for or not. Because if you give him a win, you might not win unless you align. And
Correct.
that is why he's dangerous to both
As
sides of the
100%.
aisle.
It is 1:55 or 1:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank Landy for being here to have these discussions. We went through crypto. Landy broke down crypto for you, and then we went into some political talk. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in, whether it's from YouTube, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Twitter. Shout out to the sponsors, Midnight, Polymarket, Cake Wallet, and the new sponsor, People's Reserve. Landy, thank you. I'm sure you guys want to catch Landy. He's all over the place. I'm sure he'll be in a space today.
Yep.
Chopping
going to
it
one
up.
right after.
Yeah, you're going in. I'll be chopping it up about Bitcoin and the market, so you can go ahead and catch him. If you guys don't tune into spaces, you can go ahead and follow Landy and catch him in a space where he breaks stuff down. Landy, of course, appreciate you, brother, for coming on today.
Appreciate you too, David. Thank you for having me
See you
on.
tomorrow.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Landy, the greatest TA artist of all time. That's right. We'll be right back after these commercial breaks. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Welcome back to the show. Episode 686. Man. I don't know. I still got... I don't know what I did wrong on TikTok. I have absolutely no clue what happened on TikTok. Do me a favor. Everybody who's on TikTok right now, can you do me a favor? Can you reshare the live? Just want to see something. Can you reshare the live? Essentially, yesterday, I was told... I got 3 warnings yesterday. 3 warnings. And really, the warnings came out when we started to talk about aliens. I said that some of the Democrats look like aliens. So I just want to see something. I want to see if they still got me in the penalty box on the live streams on TikTok. I really want to see. I said yesterday, and look, I'm saying it again, but it's a joke. I said that some of the Democrats look like aliens. I'm scared. Like, on TikTok, for the last few weeks, we started hitting 400, 500 people live on the stream. Like, we were hitting 20,000 viewers on each fucking episode. I'm scared to say anything now on TikTok. And what can I say? Like, what am I allowed to say on TikTok? Well, some of the stuff that I see on TikTok, is way worse than anything that I can ever say on a microphone. Way worse. Way worse. This is the tame version of me. If you guys would have seen me in 2000, what was it? 2000 what? When I started 2016? You would have seen me podcasting in 2016 versus now. I would have been banned in the first 2 minutes. At least on TikTok. I'm blown away how I survived on Twitter. Because Twitter was obviously under Jack and company. It was very liberal. And I'm not liberal. And somehow I survived. Weird. Weird. I think I think I got the limited shit. I think it happened again. It happened again. Yeah, I can't win with them. I can't win. I can't win with TikTok. I really can't. I can't win with TikTok. I can't win. I can't win. What are we breaking down here? So I believe that, and I said this yesterday, respect to the services that Joe Kent has provided to this country for serving in our military, for protecting our freedoms. I respect that. And, you know, God rest her soul, his wife, who was killed in combat. We can put everything, we can put all these things to the side. We can acknowledge things that he has done for this country. You can't say all these things, though, Joe. Can't say all these things. You go on Sean Ryan's show. You've tweeted things out about Iran. We can't wait. We have to go after them. Now, and this has to be factual, now because they stopped giving you information, because they probably deemed you to be a leaker. You resign. And you run onto, if you waited a couple of days or weeks and then like you appeared on Tucker's show, I would have thought differently. But you ran right away to Tucker. Like that was the first person you ran to give your take on what's happening. Tucker, who's speculation, of course, but I feel like he's been paid off. And, he gets absolutely excited. And you know what I'm talking about. He gets absolutely excited if you mention the word Israel and anything bad to do with it, he's in it. He's in it. So you ran to him. You said Israel pushed Trump into participating in this operation, which I don't believe, because Trump has been saying this for decades. And I don't believe anybody can control Donald Trump. I don't believe there is a single person that can control Trump. I don't believe there is a single person. And I do believe Trump when he says he proved it in his first 4 years, no conflict. I don't believe Trump wants to be, I'm pretty sure our intelligence department said, Iran's a threat. They will get nukes. And he took action. I don't believe this is an Israel thing. I don't. You can see it as of yesterday. He ripped Israel apart. Trump came out on Truth Social and ripped Israel apart. I'm like, you guys are listening to the wrong people. I'm telling you, and yes, you'll be like, oh, he's a stinging, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Whatever. I don't care what you think. I'm telling you, Trump is uncontrollable. You can't control him. And he can win. I don't know how many times I can say this. He can win. He can't win because if he does nothing, then he gets blamed. If he does something like he's doing here, he gets blamed. He can't win. He just can't win. And especially, here's the worst part. You have these fake ass personalities that milked the MAGA movement to build their platforms. And now they've gone back to being who they are, just full-blown Democrats, full-blown liberals. And if not that, just people that are looking for the most engagement as possible. And they're out here They know that by saying Israel, they know by attacking Trump, Iran, all this stuff, that they're going to get engagement. Candace Owens knows this. Tucker Carlson knows this. Kelly knows this. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And people believe that the MAGA movement is breaking apart when it's not. Look at the new polls. Nobody's falling for the shit that they're pushing. Nobody is. Nobody's standing beside Tucker Carlson. If anything, we're looking at Tucker like, you've lost your mind. That's how I'm looking at Tucker. I liked Tucker at one point. Now I'm like, you've lost your mind, man. And it's not even about Israel. He's just lost his mind. Guys, you can criticize Israel. Like, and I've said this yesterday, like, you can criticize Israel. Like, we can criticize, and I criticize America at times. I'll criticize anybody. I don't give a fuck. You can't blame Israel, though, for everything in your life. Like, at some point, you got to step, hold on, like, I'm broke because of Israel. Like, no, you're broke because you don't have a job. It's not Israel's fault that you don't have a job. It's your fault that you're lazy as fuck and you don't got a job and you sit on social media all day. Literally sitting on social media all day with your tinfoil hat on. I mean, really. That is really what it is. It's come to that point where people just saying Israel just to go ahead and get clicks and likes. I'm watching on social media. Like, every time I post or I reply to a post on Twitter, I automatically get attacked by people that are just like, they hate Jews. I automatically get attacked by people that just don't like Jewish people. I don't really care. I'm telling you right now, I don't care. None of this stuff, I don't even reply. And that probably pisses them off more. I don't care. You can say whatever you want. When let me explain something to you. When I reply to a post or when I make a post, I don't reply. I just don't. And if I do, I'll look for people that are like trying to have an actual conversation, and I'll acknowledge it. After that, I'm not looking. Nor do I care what you feel in terms of, oh, a Jew said it. Esteen, the biggest one now is, oh, look, Esteen's talking. Oh, the opinion of Esteen. Go, keep saying it. I don't really care. You don't bother. It doesn't bother me. It bothers you. I can never sit here and say, oh, I mean, like, you guys have put yourself in that predicament. You blame everything on Jews. Like I said earlier, you're broke because of Jews. Dave Smith, they're not going to accept you, my man. Dave Smith, they are not going to accept you. They are not going to accept you. I know you're trying hard, but they're not going to accept you. They're not. They're not. The alt-right doesn't like you. Trust me. You're never going to be one of them. And they'll tell you when the time is right. You're never going to be one of them. Nick Fuentes comes out and says impeach Trump. The biggest grifter out of all of them comes out and says impeach Trump. It's crazy. Obviously, look, I love crypto. We talk about finance. I love crypto. I don't know how many times I can say it. I love crypto. Crypto has done wonders. It has opened up so many doors, networking, meeting individuals that you probably would have never met in your life. Crypto has given me an enormous platform. I love crypto. I love the people of crypto. The people that have continued to support me. Thank you so much. This platform, it's great and it continues to grow, and I appreciate you guys. I continue to evolve. Now I talk about politics, but that's because I ran for office. It's not me just talking about politics just so I can go ahead and get more engagement. I actually ran for office. But I ran for, obviously, besides issues that we do have here in the United States of America, another issue, big time issue for me, was like we don't have enough younger people who understand tech, that don't understand crypto, that don't understand what it is to go digital. And that's where we're heading. And I was running on that. Unfortunately, COVID came, and you know what? It is what it is. Would I have won in my district? Maybe I wouldn't have won in my district. Maybe I wouldn't have. And maybe the better position for me is being not in DC, but being in this very position with a microphone and a camera in my studio and just talking about these issues and reaching a bigger audience. I do care about this country. I really do care about the United States of America, and I just want to see it thrive. You know, make America great again is, you know, it's true if you think about it, because we've been, I don't know what's happened. For 2 decades, we were in, I don't know. I just like, everything's changed. It's changed. And it feels like we've been psyoped by other countries. I think TikTok, you know, even though I love TikTok, and you can see, look, TikTok doesn't allow me to speak. I got 31. What averages in the 300s to 400s lately is now at 31. And that is because I mentioned aliens and Democrats looking like aliens. This is what happens when you go ahead and you make a fucking joke. You go ahead and get fucking limited. I don't know for how many fucking shows. TikTok either limits you for 10 minutes or they limit you for the entire show. It's terrible. It's terrible. Are all politicians saints? No. No. And I'm going to say this again. Can you criticize the Israeli government? Yeah, you can. You absolutely can criticize. People ask me this question. I'm like, yeah, well, you can. I don't know who says you can. For those people who say that you can't, like, they're not normal. We criticize the United States of America. We can criticize anybody we want. We criticize China. I criticize China, Russia. Like, I'll go through all these countries. To say that, you know, that's what, you know, that is the biggest thing. I'm going to tell you right now. Let me keep it 100. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem. That's why there are people that are feeding into this shit, because you're allowing them to. When you say you can't criticize Israel, you're feeding into what some of these absolute morons are pushing out there. Criticizing Israel isn't anti-Semitic. I don't know who needs to hear that, but it's not you being anti-Semitic. You're voicing your opinion as an adult. You're saying, hey, I don't agree with this, and that's fine. The right way to do is, somebody doesn't agree with it, well, why don't you reply to it and break down why X, Y, Z is happening? That's just the right way to do it. Communicate. That's right. Anyway, welcome to the breakdown. One day we'll have peace, right? One day we'll have fucking peace here. One day everybody will get along. Regardless of race or religion, we'll all get along one day. Hopefully. We'll need a uniter for that. Unfortunately, you know, when people say, well, I wish Trump was a uniter, like, he can't unite nothing right now. Like, the Democrats hate him with a passion. How are you going to unite? And even if he tried, listen, even if he tried to unite, the Democrats wouldn't go for it. I mean, they'll do anything possible. Like Trump's life, 2 assassination attempts, even more, have been put on Trump's life. The Democrats some Democrats came out and said it's not cool, political violence. And then the next day they were on literally MSNBC calling him a fascist. Like, do you understand it? Like, it's never going to work out here. And he obviously has animosity towards Democrats because they try to put him in prison for the rest of his life. Do we need a uniter? Yes. I'm going to tell you right now, we do need a uniter. We need somebody who comes in the next, after Trump's done. And this is not me throwing shade at Trump. I love Trump. I love everything that President Trump has done. We need, moving forward, because the TDS is strong. I just want everybody to understand and not take this out of context. The TDS is strong. People have been just like, it doesn't matter to them. Like Trump can cure cancer. Trump can do a lot of things. They still will hate him. They'll boycott the goddamn cure. So there's not there. He will not be able. It's just he won't be able to do it. The next president should be a unifier. And he should say something like, I'm not Donald Trump, though I believe Donald Trump has done fantastic things for the United States of America, which he has. I am not Donald Trump. And I think maybe saying that, maybe people will come together, but I don't know. Maybe it'll take another decade for that to happen. Maybe it's going to just take another decade for people to come together and just, or at least the Democrats and Republicans can come together and they work together. I think they need to realize that they work for us. I keep saying that, and that's the truth. You guys work for us. You work for the American people. You need to be doing things for America. You need to be taking care of our veterans. You need to fucking take care of this homeless situation that we have, this pandemic, this homeless pandemic that we have in the United States of America. You need to take care of that. You need to finally do something for the inner cities. Stop talking about it for decades, okay? You've talked about it for decades. You've done nothing. You've done nothing for the inner cities. You go there to get the votes, but you have not done a single thing. You know what you have done, though? You've allowed big business to come into inner cities, buy out land, and build buildings which people that live there can't afford. So they got to move. That's what you have done. But you haven't done anything for the people. Where are the workshops? Why is all the money going into the middle class and higher class areas? Why is funding going into those areas but not into the inner cities? Why don't we have more workshops? Why? Why don't we have more workshops? Where are the mental health clinics? Why don't we have more mental health clinics? Why? There are people suffering with mental health issues. Some people don't want to acknowledge them, but there are people that are suffering. Mental health clinics. Why not spend money there? We can spend money on fucking Ukraine, but we can't spend money on opening up clinics here. We spend money on funding for transgender mice, but we can't spend that money on building mental health clinics. I'm dead serious about the whole mental health issue. Mental health is a big issue. Mental health is a big issue. Green Ranger, I'm gonna take comments here. Green Ranger, listen to me. I see you consistently going out there and replying to things that I'm saying. Let me say something to you, because I don't know if you tune into the show. Maybe this is your first time. I am against war. That's been my position forever. I'm against war. I believe war is the last resort. Okay? War should be the last resort. I really do believe, and this is not me taking somebody else's talking point, Iran can't have nuclear weapons. Iran has funded terroristic activities all across the world. They have harmed Americans. They have harmed others within their region as well. Look, I'll even give you an example. They just went ahead and hung how old was he? 15-year-old wrestler. A 15-year-old Olympic wrestler was hung publicly. This is not normal. It's not normal. And then, could you imagine Iran with nuclear capabilities? What that would do to that region and what it could potentially do to the United States of America. You know what? We've been at war with Iran for so long. I'm glad that Trump went and participated in this operation. Now, I know people are going to say it's easy for me to say. It's easy for me to say because I'm not boots on the ground. I get it. I get it. And look, I'm unable to talk to Democrats. It's impossible. You guys are so brainwashed. It's impossible. Go ahead, spin it the way you want to spin it. It's fucking impossible. It's like talking to the wall. It really is like talking to the wall. They will spin it. They will spin it. Like they will somehow find a way to spin it. Democrats run on two issues. Actually, just one. Trump is bad. That's it. Nothing that Trump does is good. Everything is bad. Congratulations. Fran, don't worry. I can't talk about anything here. On TikTok, I can't talk about anything on TikTok. I gotta make sure I watch what I say. So yeah, I don't like war. I don't agree. Like Lindsey Graham, that dude has a hard-on to go to war. Like this man wants to go to war with everybody. Like if Lindsey Graham was the president of the United States of America, we'd be at war with every country. This man's crazy. This man is absolutely batshit crazy. Nah, I don't have to reassess my support. I believe that Trump is doing a phenomenal job. Is he perfect? No, but I think he's done a phenomenal job. The economy is better than it was under Biden. Crypto is better than it was under Biden. And there's not a single person that can deny that. Like if you're in crypto, and I've said this so many times, if you're in crypto, you cannot say that Kamala Harris would have done a better job. Lindsey Graham is crazy. Like I think Democrats and Republicans can agree. Like Lindsey Graham is absolutely batshit crazy. That man is absolutely nuts. I don't agree with anything that motherfucker says. Like that guy is nuts. That guy just wants war. That guy wants war, bro. And like I said, I don't agree. I think war is the last resort. You know, like, do I want to see our troops sent out to these countries? No, I don't. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can't have, again, you can't negotiate with terrorists. You just can't negotiate with terrorists. And that's what the Iranian regime is. Like, they're a bunch of terrorists. That's it. And for people who say that Israel put up America to this, I'm telling you, it's not all Israel, man. There are bigger PACs. There are bigger PACs in Washington than AIPAC. And nobody talks about it because the subject that you can talk about that'll give you more clicks and more engagement is talking about Israel. So if you mention AIPAC, people are more likely to engage with your post because it's anti-Israel conversations versus talking about special interests in pharmaceutical companies and shit like that. And that's one other thing that I would definitely do. I would take out these pharmaceutical motherfucking companies. Charging people an enormous amount of money for medicine. They have so many cures, man, but they would never put that out. They have cures to diseases, but they only give you temporary relief. That's all they do. They put out temporary relief out there. Temporary solutions. Yeah, careful with pharma, right? Careful with pharma. It's crazy. Crazy. Anyway, welcome to the breakdown. This show is sponsored by Midnight. Go check out if you guys have time, check out David Gokhshtein's clips on X, where we have a whole staff that clips up and edits conversations that I've had. We had Charles on he was on here for an hour and a half. Staff is clipping that up. He really broke down why privacy is important, and he touched on blockchain, a lot of things. I think it's a good it's definitely number one. I think you should watch the entire episode or segment. If not, watch some of these clips. They're dope. Shout out to Polymarket, the official prediction market sponsor of the breakdown and the DG brand. Also, Cake Wallet. Shout out to Cake Wallet. Vic, I'm sure I'm going to get him on this month. Talk about the most secure wallet, one of the most secure wallets in our industry. Also, the People's Reserve, brand new sponsor as of this week. They're on here. CJ is trying to do something that absolutely, it should have been out here a long time ago. CJ and his entire team at People's Reserve are trying to figure out a way for you to go ahead and keep your Bitcoin and borrow against it. So there you go. It's a good thing. Use Bitcoin as collateral. Use crypto as collateral in general. What can I leave you with today, man? What can I leave you with, guys? Guys, what can I leave you with? I hope and I pray that TikTok finally lifts this 2 or 3 day ban off of me. TikTok, I promise I'll be good. TikTok, I promise I'll be good. I promise. Is the handle Gokhshtein Clips? At Gokhshtein Clips on X. That's the handle. If you want to tune in and catch the clips. I don't know what the quote of the day could be. What can the quote of the day be? Hold on, let me look. Let me see what I'll leave you guys with as the quote of the day. I don't even want to leave you guys today. I feel like Landy was talking about, Landy really held it down today, man. Landy was really, really talking for me today. Shout out to Landy. I appreciate Landy a lot. Hold on, let me see what I can find here. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me see what I can find. Let's see. No. I mean, there's some quotes that I do like. Let's see. All right, I like this one. Let's go with this one today. The cost of never taking a risk is spending the rest of your life wishing you had. And And that is true. I bet on myself and I feel like I'm winning. Am I where I want to be? No. But are we building? Yes. Are we moving forward? Absolutely. And I will continue to move forward. I will continue to speak my mind. And I'm very grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for the audience that I've been able to build out after 10 years plus of, getting on this microphone and looking into a camera. Appreciate everybody fucking with my vibe, my energy, my aura. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to TikTok, my moderators on TikTok. We got Tech, we got Fran, always doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for everybody who tunes in on TikTok. I appreciate you. Getter, thank you very much for the kind welcome on there. Working with Truth Social so I can go and showcase this live show on that platform. Shout out to Twitter. That's what I want to call it, Twitter. Shout out to Twitter. Hopefully the live streams get a lot better. I remember I was like one of the first to get back to live streaming on Twitter's platform when nobody would live stream. And it was phenomenal. It did wonders for me too. I got to say, like I was like one of the first to get back to live streaming on Twitter when nobody would do it. Everybody was on Spaces, and I said, you know what? You got to go live. I can go live. I'm not scared to go ahead and showcase my face. I've always done live shows, but going live specifically on Twitter was big. It was big. Now it's saturated, and I feel like it's the same thing that happened with Spaces. I was like one of the first to get Spaces when Spaces came out, and that was when Jack was still in charge. Not everybody could hold a space. Not everybody had a verified check mark, and we would have 10,000, 11,000 people in a space. Once everybody was able to get a space, the numbers started to dwindle down. You had everybody create a show, and everybody wanted to be a superstar. Switched to live again on Twitter. Because I was always going live, but I switched to live on Twitter. Again, same thing. Same thing with Twitter. And then slowly people started to get into the mix. Slowly people started to go live. And again, now it becomes saturated. And that's only because we're in the era now where everybody wants to be a podcaster, which is really cool. Everybody in this era now wants to be a podcaster. Everybody wants to be the next Joe Rogan. So if you're good, if you got shit to present, if you got value that you can give to the people will follow you. You will build out a platform. Bottom line, if you have value, if you have any sort of value, and the people like you, they will come and they will tell everybody about you. It's a game of patience. Like Gary Vee didn't break out. What it took him 12, 14 years to break out. A lot of people that have been podcasting, it takes them 10 to 12 years to finally break out. I feel like I'm at that moment. I really do feel that way. To capture a really cool audience and talk about some really cool topics. Unfiltered. No script. None of that bullshit. Just speak from the heart. Stand on business. ZK Fox Studio says, you were first to Spaces, first to LiveX. What are you going to be first next to? I am doing something, and I'm not saying a word about it, but I'm doing something that I believe will be the first in this industry. I'll be the first one to do it in this industry, and then I'm sure more will follow. I'm 100% sure that more people will follow what I'm about to do in the next 2 to 3 months. 100%. The only thing you can't copycat, here's the, and this goes for anybody. The only thing you can't copycat is somebody's vibe and aura. I know I got that vibe, and I know I got that aura. And I got a face for camera. So y'all know already. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, I left you with a quote. Shout out to everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, recapping the entire week. We'll talk about crypto. We'll talk about political issues. I'm trying to be a trendsetter. That's right. I'm trying. Yeah, I've been doing this, man. Before I go off, I've been doing this for fucking 10 years, man. 10 plus years podcasting. 10 plus years. I've been, and I've gone against everything. You know what's crazy? My kind of conversations. This is I feel like it's a long-term type of ordeal here. I could have took the easy way. I could have just put out charts that would get me engagement. I could have said things I didn't believe in. Like really, like I know how this game is played. Like I could say things that would have that would triple the amount of viewership. Like I really could say things I really don't believe in, sell out, and really have. I'm talking about really have. Or could have had that type of platform a long time ago. I could have put out there like Bitcoin's going to $400,000. I know what people, I see what people like. I see what people resonate with. I refuse to do it. I keep on saying, and I've kept on saying throughout the years, my time will come. My time will come where people will want authentic talk. They'll come here and they'll watch me. That's it. If people want to chop it up and they want to listen to authentic conversations, no problem. You found the right place. You want to go ahead and listen to somebody tell you what you want to hear? Plenty of people out there doing that shit. I don't want to be one of them. I can easily take the Candace Owens route. I can easily be doing the same thing that Ian Carroll does. I can do what Dave Smith does. Piers Morgan. I'll name them all out. Nah. I'll pass. I'll pass on that. I don't want that. I really don't. I'll build it right. I'll build it for long term. I'll build it for long term. No, I'm not going on The View. No, I will not go on The View. I'll never change. I'll never change that. And that's the biggest thing. Like, my personality upsets people. You either love me or you hate me. There is no in between with me. There is not like, I sort of like David. Like, there is no I sort of like David. There is none. There is either I like him or I don't. It's unfortunate, but it's either I like him or I hate him. I love him, I hate him. I'm used to it. And it's funny, that's the first reaction though. That is your first reaction to me. It's either you love me or you hate me. But once the haters, let me say this, the haters. Here's the difference with the haters. The haters, it takes them time to figure me out. So they'll sit there for 6 months and they're like, you know what? And this always happens. We become friends, or we become friendly, or there's like, there's finally some appreciation that, man, you know what? I might not agree with all of David's takes, but at least he stands on his business, man. At least he talks his shit. Where we live in an era where people don't believe in the shit that they talk about. Like, how many people have you seen or you listened into? They don't believe the shit that they're talking about. They don't do the shit that they talk about. At least I'm out here. I stand on fucking business. I say things that are not popular. I just told you it's okay to criticize Israel. Guess what? You know how many Jewish people are going to be mad at me? You know how many Jewish people are going to be mad at me because I say you can criticize Israel? Because if I can criticize America, I can criticize Israel. You don't know how many... Do you understand that I'm never getting my Jewish card back? Do you understand that the ADL might put up a page about me being an alt-right member? But I believe what I'm saying. And what I say is, like, it's common sense. It's common sense. Listen, I might think I am the most gorgeous dude on the planet, right? I might believe I'm the most handsome dude on the goddamn planet. Guess what? I'm not every girl's fucking cup of tea. They'll look at me, they're like, nah, this dude's ugly. You're not gonna win with everybody, man. Not everybody's gonna say, oh my God, I love his green eyes and the way his brows look and his hair black and the beard, and I love the way that he wear, his suit, he smells like, no. Somebody's gonna find something. I'll find something wrong with you. Somebody's going to find something wrong with you. And that's okay. That's okay. That is absolutely fine. That's why look at this. Look at the society we live in. As soon as somebody gets judged, do you know what they do? They run and digitalize themselves. And what I mean by that is they perform plastic surgery on themselves, whether it's in real life or digitally. Half the people that I see on Instagram, right? This is true. I've met people in real life off of these social media platforms. I've seen their pictures online, and then I've seen them offline. They look nothing like themselves. Like, I say this all the time, and I'm not joking. You imagine, this is the situation. You have your Instagram. You have your social media account with all your pictures. You are digitally performing surgery on yourselves, right? You're making your eyes bigger. You're reshaping your faces online digitally, right? God forbid, knock on wood, you were to get kidnapped or you're lost. And people are trying to find you. They're using your Instagram to find you. You're never going to be found. They'll never find you. We have a big problem in society. We have a huge problem in society. And that is, we look at social media, and social media has, you see the perfect couples, you see the perfect person, like this is what you're supposed to look like. And then you start looking, first of all, you have no confidence in yourself. You have very low self-esteem. You look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I need a change. I look at these people. I need to look like them. You got this young kid who's 19 years old taking a hammer to his face, breaking his jaw, and he's going to get surgery on his jaw. And people are like, oh, I got to do that. It's okay to have imperfections. Like, I think imperfections are actually fucking cool. Like, it is really cool to have some imperfections. Like, you guys probably can't see it, right? But I had a hockey stick stuck in my eye, okay? Which I have like this little scar underneath my eyebrow. I think that's cool. I actually think it's fucking cool. Could I go ahead with the new technology that's out here, get that repaired? Yes. I wouldn't, though. Social media has really, really hurt people. It has really given people low self-esteem about themselves. It really has. You scroll through TikTok, you see somebody like, oh my God, this person's gorgeous. How can I look like that? Then I've seen so many, and this is guys too, but more women than guys, because more women go get plastic surgery done than guys do. And I've seen so many girls, so many women that actually look good. Like they look good. And then they go get themselves fillers and like whatever, like all this shit done to their faces. And they don't even look like themselves anymore. They look plastic. I'm not saying you can't get work done on yourself, like little things. But I'm like, to change your whole face, not even look like yourself. Like you look like, what the fuck? And now dudes are going to now young guys who have absolutely no confidence in themselves, they're going to go and do what this guy, I don't know what his fucking name is. This kid who's out here breaking his jaw and shit. You're going to have young guys that are going to do the same thing because they have no confidence in themselves. There's absolutely zero confidence in themselves. This day and age, it's very hard to go ahead and get into a relationship, get with a girl, because you see, it's all fucked up now. It really is. It is 100% fucked. I don't even know how I got into this topic. But we do live in a fucked up era. We do live in a fucked up era where now people are doing all types of shit to be recognized. That's why I say it's not authentic, right? Like, it's not authentic. It's extreme, and extreme brings in viewership. Why was Jerry Springer successful? Because he had fights on his show, and people would tune in to watch the fights. People, it's like you watch the news, right? What does the news start off with? It's always bad stuff. The news, if you watch any news program, it's always bad. It's always about the negative goes first, and then at the very end of the show, it's all positive. Like it's that one positive story. And before we go today, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jordan donated $15 million to a local kids charity. That's what you get. And the music's already playing, so you don't even know what's happening. They're already closing up the show. It's the truth. It's 100% the truth. One day we'll get back to where we were one day. Or once upon a time, I should say. Once upon a time, we used to have normal conversations. There wasn't so much hate out here. You can't even have a conversation no more. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't have a convo. Anyway, I overstayed my time. I really have. I've already thanked everybody. I don't know. I'm probably will get destroyed for saying that the shit about women getting plastic surgery. But I mean, I believe that. I believe you should go and grow old and gracefully. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm not into the plastic stuff. I don't know. Am I wrong on this? Am I wrong on like the whole, like, Chad, what would you rather have? Like natural or plastic? Like, I don't know. I mean, Lindsay Lohan, whatever she did, well, she looks refreshed. If you want, like, okay, fine. If you want to look refreshed, fine. Like whatever Kim Kardashian is doing. I don't know what Kim Kardashian's doing. But she doesn't look plastic. Like Kim Kardashian's face, it doesn't look plastic, at least. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it kind of looks natural. So whatever she's doing, do that then, I guess. But not the whole stretching of the face. Like it looks like a lot of people that I see, it looks like you've got you got a different face put on you. And it was I don't know. Let me shut the fuck up. Let me shut the fuck up. Thank you for tuning in. God bless America. God bless you guys. I hope you win big, especially in crypto. I hope you win big, but I hope you win big in life. Believe in God. God is great. On that note, I'm out.